Roger, LF. Understand you are on the bottom. Congratulations, Victor. Congratulations.
Well done. Beginning exploration of the bottom.
In 2011, a research vessel floats alone in the middle of the Pacific, hundreds of kilometers from any coastline. Nothing on the horizon in any direction, just flat, indifferent water stretching to the edge of sight. Below the hull, a camera rig has been sinking for over an hour through water that grows colder and darker with every meter, and it still hasn't reached bottom. Down here, sunlight is ancient history. It vanished thousands of meters above. The temperature barely clears freezing. The pressure closing in from every side is now over 1,000 times what you'd feel standing on a beach. No one aboard expects to find anything alive. This is supposed to be the emptiest place on the planet. They're wrong. When the footage surfaces, something is moving in it. Something that, by everything scientists believed at the time, had no business existing where it was filmed. That single moment triggered more than a decade of expeditions into the deepest, most punishing environment Earth has to offer. A canyon so deep that dropping Mount Everest inside, it would leave the summit more than 2 kilometers underwater. What's been discovered since reads stranger than most science fiction. A fish held together by the same force that would crush a steel submarine. Shrimp that manufacture their own metal armor from the seafloor itself. A single living cell the size of a mango. A glowing creature drifting through total blackness that no scientist has ever managed to name. And full ecosystems thriving where sunlight has never once touched. Not now, not ever, not across the entire history of the planet. We spend billions pointing instruments at distant planets, hoping for the faintest whisper of life. Meanwhile, an alien world sits at the bottom of our own ocean, and we've barely begun looking. This is the Mariana Trench. By the end of this, you'll understand why some scientists find it more unsettling than anything we might find in space. What the trench actually is. The numbers alone are hard to absorb, even after you've heard them. The trench lies in the western Pacific, several hundred kilometers east of the Mariana Islands, near Guam. It isn't a simple hole. It's a long, crescent-shaped gash in the seafloor stretching roughly 2,550 kilometers, nearly the distance from New York to Los Angeles, curving through the crust in a shape that hints at violence built up over geological time. Its lowest point has a name, the Challenger Deep, dropping to approximately 10,935 meters. The name honors HMS Challenger, the British Royal Navy vessel whose 1872 to 1876 voyage carried out the first systematic survey of the world's ocean floor, taking depth soundings with nothing more than weighted hemp rope. The crew had no idea what they were starting. To grasp what 10,935 meters really means, Everest stands roughly 8,849 meters tall. Drop it into the Challenger Deep, and its peak would sit more than 2 kilometers below the surface, with room to stack another mountain on top and still not break through. Plate tectonics built this. The Pacific plate is sliding beneath the smaller Mariana plate in a process called subduction, centimeters a year, but continuous for tens of millions of years. The trench is the scar left at that collision seam, a wound geology keeps reopening. The physics at the bottom are brutal. Pressure there exceeds 1,000 times what you feel at sea level. The equivalent, scientists say, of roughly 50 loaded jumbo jets pressing on a single square meter. An ordinary steel submarine hull would collapse instantly, like a tin can underfoot. Water hovers barely above zero, and the dark isn't dim, it's absolute. Sunlight reaches only about 1,000 meters down on a clear day. The Challenger Deep is nearly 11 times deeper than that. Even the faint bioluminescent glow found at mid-depths disappears entirely by the bottom. Given all that, it would be reasonable to assume nothing lives there. For most of human history, that's exactly what we assumed. It turned out to be one of biology's biggest mistakes. A single cell the size of a mango. Most single-celled organisms need a microscope just to prove they exist. That's true across nearly all of biology. It's practically part of the definition. In the Mariana Trench, that rule breaks down. During the same 2011 expedition that opened this story, run by Scripps Institution of Oceanography. Cameras scanning the seafloor caught large pale structures resting on the sediment, some over 10 centimeters across, about the size of a mango. These are xenophyophores, and what makes them scientifically strange isn't just their size, it's their classification. A xenophyophore is, technically, a single cell, not a colony, not a small organism. One cell, unlike a normal cell with one nucleus. A xenophyophore holds many, sometimes hundreds, inside one continuous structure, a condition biologists call syncytial. It feeds, reproduces, and builds protective shell without any division of labor between specialized tissues. Everything a complex organism's organs would handle, this single cell does alone. To build that shell, it gathers mineral particles and sediment and assembles them into a structure that can look like a small sponge or fragile coral. Under a camera, a field of xenophyophores looks almost like a garden. Pale, intricate shapes scatter across dark sediment, each one a single living cell doing the work of an entire organism. Nobody fully understands how this works at this scale. The leading idea is that the size itself is a survival strategy. In a place where food drifts by rarely and unpredictably, a bigger structure means more surface area to catch whatever passes. The cell may be large not despite its environment, but because of it. And if a mango-sized cell sounds strange, what came next was stranger, because no one has ever been able to name it. The jellyfish with no name. During a NOAA expedition near a region adjacent to the trench called the Enigma Seamount, researchers were filming at around 3,700 meters when something drifted straight into frame. Something nobody watching could identify. It had a bell-shaped body and long trailing tentacles arranged in two tiers, some horizontal, some hanging below. Unlike jellyfish that actively pulse through the water hunting, this one stayed almost perfectly still, apparently an ambushed predator, waiting in the dark for prey to drift close. As the camera held on it, parts of the animal seemed to glow faintly, bioluminescence common enough in deep sea life, but here it fed into a classification debate that's never been settled. Some researchers thought it might belong to Crassoda, a genus of Hydromedici, jellyfish-like animals in the class Hydrozoa, distinct from true jellyfish. Others weren't convinced they were looking at anything previously described at all. To this day, that animal has no species name, no database entry, no agreed classification. Sit with that for a second. We have time-stamped video of a living organism in our own ocean that science still can't definitively name. Meanwhile, space agencies run multi-billion-dollar programs, scanning galaxies trillions of kilometers away for the faintest chemical hint of life. A glowing, unclassified animal drifted past a camera less than 4 kilometers below a research ship, and nobody on board could tell you exactly what it was. That's not a knock on those scientists. It's a measure of how little of our own planet we've actually explored. And that unnamed jellyfish isn't a one-off. It's a symptom of something much bigger running through the trench. Entire ecosystems built on survival strategies we're still only beginning to document. Giant shrimp wearing metal armor. In 2019, expeditions into the Hadal Zone, ocean depth below 6,000 meters, turned up something that first looked like a measurement error. Amphipods, small crustaceans found throughout the world's oceans, are usually just a few millimeters long, the kind of thing you'd need to squint at in a tide pool. In the Mariana Trench, researchers found amphipods nearly 30 centimeters long, roughly 100 times the usual size. This is called deep-sea gigantism, likely driven by cold water slowing metabolism and extending growth, higher dissolved oxygen at depth, and less competition and predation. But size wasn't what stopped researchers cold. It was the shell itself. Analysis found aluminium built directly into the exoskeleton. That's genuinely rare in biology. Most hard structures follow known pathways. Calcium carbonate for shells, chitin for insect exoskeletons. Incorporating metal into body armor barely appears in the scientific literature. The best guess is that these amphipods pull trace aluminium from trench sediment and chemically bind it to their shell surface. The purpose looks protective. Trench water is naturally corrosive to calcium-based shells, and an aluminium coating resists that breakdown. These animals are essentially doing materials chemistry to survive. Their diet fits the armor. They're scavengers, eating whatever sinks from above, dead fish, decaying matter, and increasingly, plastic waste drifting down from the surface, a detail we'll return to. Researchers have also filmed them using spike tails as active weapons against predators, a behavior never recorded before trench expeditions made it visible. A foot-long metal-armored crustacean with a spike-tail defense at the bottom of the deepest ocean on Earth. It sounds invented. It's completely real. The fish that pressure built, the creature that first appended everything, doesn't look dangerous. And it doesn't look like it belongs in the most extreme environment on the planet. It's called the Mariana snailfish Pseudoliparus swireii, formerly named in 2017 by researchers from the University of Hawaii and the University of Aberdeen. At a glance, it's almost anticlimactic. Soft, translucent body, no hard scales, small dark eyes. The kind of fish you'd expect in a shallow estuary, not the crushing bottom of the world's deepest trench. It moves in loose clusters near the seafloor, hunting small shrimp and invertebrates, a predator by trench standards. Here's where it stops being reassuring. Bring a Mariana snailfish up to the surface, the environment where nearly every other fish on Earth lives without issue, and its body would essentially fall apart. Not dramatically, structurally. That's not weakness. It's extreme specialization. Its skeleton is thin, its skull never fully hardens, and its cells only function normally under enormous pressure. A fully mineralized skeleton costs energy the fish can't spare in a place where food is scarce. So it skipped the armor and lets outside pressure do the structural work instead. The key is a compound called trimethylamine oxide, or TMAO, found in many marine animals but at extraordinary concentrations in deep-sea fish. TMAO stabilizes proteins against pressure-driven deformation. Without it, the fish's enzymes and cellular machinery would distort and fail. The deeper a fish lives, the more TMAO it carries, and the snailfish has among the highest concentrations ever measured. Researchers believe TMAO hits a physical ceiling around 8,000 meters, which may explain why no fish has ever been found living deeper than about 8,336 meters. The record depth at which a snailfish was filmed in 2023 by researchers from the University of Western Australia. The fish that thrives in the harshest place on Earth cannot survive the conditions we consider completely normal. Evolution built something so precisely calibrated to extremity that ordinary conditions are what kill it, and it was only the first confirmed resident of this world. The trash that got there first. You'd expect the single deepest, most remote point on Earth to be among the last untouched places left. It isn't. In 2020, researchers formally described a new amphipod species from the trench, Urethines plasticus. The name was deliberate. When scientists examined the specimens, they found microplastic fragments already embedded in the tissue of a species that had never even been formally described before. Alan Jameson, the Newcastle University marine ecologist who led the team, pointed out what made it significant. A brand new species from one of Earth's least explored habitats, already contaminated before science had a chance to study it untouched. Later expeditions photographed plastic bags resting on the seafloor near the Challenger Deep. Microplastics now turn up throughout the trench's sediment, delivered by what researchers call the biological pump. Surface organisms absorb plastic particles, die, and sink, carrying contamination down over months and years. Our waste reached the deepest point on the planet before most of our scientists did. And yet life keeps expanding the deeper researchers look. The Mariana Trench Environment and Ecology Research Project pulled sediment samples from the trench and other hadal sites for genetic analysis, identifying over 6,000 microbial species never recorded before, pulled from sediment most people assumed was empty. Some carry genes that neutralize reactive oxygen species, harmful byproducts that damage DNA and speed aging, and unusually strong DNA repair systems that constantly fix damage from pressure and cold. Scientists think this could eventually inform medicine, and even how humans survive long-duration space travel, learning to endure deep space by studying organisms that have never once seen the sky. Life that never needs a sun. Nearly everything alive on Earth's surface depends on sunlight, even indirectly. Plants convert light into sugar. Animals eat the plants or eat what ate the plants. Trace almost any food web back far enough, and you land on a photon hitting a leaf. For most of scientific history, sunlight was treated as practically synonymous with life itself. At the bottom of the Mariana Trench, that assumption collapses entirely. In 2025, a Chinese research submersible exploring the trench at nearly 10 kilometers depth found thriving colonies of polychaete worms and mollusks clustered around seafloor fractures where methane gas seeps upward. These are cold seep ecosystems, running on chemosynthesis, a process where bacteria convert methane and hydrogen sulfide directly into usable energy, doing chemically what photosynthesis does with light. The worms and mollusks either eat the bacteria directly or host them symbiotically inside their own tissue, an arrangement called endosymbiosis. The host provides shelter. The bacteria provide nutrients the host couldn't otherwise make. The result is a complete, diverse, self-sustaining ecosystem where sunlight has never once arrived, described as the deepest colony of animal life ever observed on Earth. The first chemosynthetic ecosystems were actually found earlier at hydrothermal vents in the Galapagos Rift in 1977 by researchers aboard the submersible Alvin from Wood Hole Oceanographic Institution, one of the most significant biological discoveries of the 20th century, since it proved life could run entirely outside the solar energy system. That changes where else life might exist in the universe. Europa, one of Jupiter's moons, is thought to hide a liquid ocean beneath miles of ice, with possible hydrothermal activity on its floor. Enceladus, a moon of Saturn, actively vents plumes of water vapor that NASA's Cassini spacecraft found laced with organic molecules, hydrogen, and silica consistent with hydrothermal chemistry. If chemosynthesis can sustain full ecosystems in our own crushing, lightless depths, there's no clear reason it couldn't be happening on a moon we've barely begun to study. Nearby, researchers have filmed nearly transparent eels navigating the same hadal zone using pressure-sensitive lateral line organs instead of eyesight, since there's no light for eyes to use. Across much of the seafloor, a thick bacterial layer coats the sediment like a carpet, breaking down whatever organic material drifts down and recycling nutrients so efficiently that almost nothing is wasted. One of the main reasons life persists at all where food is this scarce. The trench isn't one ecosystem. It's several, stacked on top of each other, each built on a different survival strategy shaped by millions of years of isolation. And researchers are still only cataloging a fraction of it. Less than 5% of the world's ocean floor has been properly explored. Most of the Mariana Trench remains unmapped. There are stretches no camera has ever reached. What we know so far, from footage, sediment cores, and a decade of expeditions, a fish whose body depends on the same force that would crush a submarine, shrimp that built their own metal armor, a single cell the size of a mango doing the work of an entire organism in total darkness, a glowing animal nobody can name, ecosystems running on chemistry instead of sunlight, over 6,000 microbial species we didn't know existed. Space is vast and worth exploring. Nobody's arguing otherwise. But right now, there's an alien world at the bottom of our own ocean, quietly building fish from pressure and shrimp from metal, running ecosystems without sunlight, hiding thousands of species we've never classified, waiting for someone to finally point a camera its way with enough patience to look. We've barely started. If this gave you something to think about, subscribe. It genuinely helps this channel keep making deep dives like this one. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.